So when you are feeling a little bit better, and maybe that's because your meds are working or your lifestyle adjustments are starting to work, whatever it is, and you finally feel safe enough again, I want to encourage you to kind of push that envelope a little bit and walk that line. Hello and welcome back to another week of Calling in Sick. I'm your host, Alex Wildeson. I am so happy it is March. February was a clusterfuck of all things medical. I had 2 rounds of chemotherapy, I had surgery, and I had 5 days of IVIG. I'm exhausted, but cautiously optimistic. Signs of I'm starting to feel better, and I'm going to knock on wood because I am a little stitious that whenever I say that, my body hears me and then it is like, ha, 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 ha. No, you're not. And it checks me and it puts me in my place. So body, we're still feeling crappy and we're just going to keep going with it. Winking. So most recently out of all of my February things, I had IVIG. And I get IVIG across 5 days, as you guys know, because I react to that medication so strongly. I just can't, my body cannot tolerate it in like the 2 or 3 days that a lot of people are able to. So we make adjustments and we make pivots to make it work for me. We had a huge win last week. I changed the brand of IVIG that I'm getting, and it is night and day. I had 1 reaction across all 5 days. 1. To put this in context of how big of a win it was for me, the time prior of getting IVIG, I had a reaction every single day that it was administered. And I remember ending that kind of stint of IVIG thinking, I don't know if I can do this drug. I literally might not be able to do this and fit it into my lifestyle. Is it giving me enough relief to make this worth it? And I was starting to really question that. I'm so happy that instead of just giving up, we decided to try another brand of this medication because that worked and I am already feeling better symptoms-wise from the IVIG. I'm also now a month out of the first dose of chemotherapy, 2 weeks out of the second dose of chemotherapy. So like across the board, I feel like all of my autoimmune and chronic illness stuff is starting to improve, which I'm so relieved and excited about. And what that means for me is that I can dive back into the things that I love. I try to bucket my life into 3 different kind of arenas. 1 is flare-up Alex. And I lean in. When I'm flare-up Alex, we're doing duvet days. We're doing self-care. We are indulging in just relaxing. When brain cell TV shows, no guilt. And that was, most of February was that bucket. Bucket 2, Alex, is the, I am chronically ill and I'm not feeling my best, but not feeling my worst. I would say that Alex tries to balance everything and burns herself pretty easily and flies way too close to the sun. That's Icarus Alex. That was me yesterday where I was thinking I was, healthy or something. Worked a full day times 2, went on 2 walks. By the end of the day, I was like, I think I might have fucked up. And then I had 4 hours of sleep because I had such bad pain. So when will she learn? Never. And then bucket 3, Alex, is the, the world is opening back up because things are working. So all that said, I feel like I'm moving away from bucket 1, indulge duvet Alex, 1 brain cell show Alex. And I'm entering into this quiet optimism, chronically ill, still some symptoms, but maybe moving towards things are looking bright, Alex. So I feel like when you're exiting that bucket 1 and moving into bucket 2, you start to deal with the mental gymnastics of fearing to flare. And I'm going to spend most of this episode talking about that because I think it's so critical, key, important to our community because it defines a lot of the way we live and the way we approach doing or not doing things and activities. At least I feel that way. I hope you guys do too, and this is a relevant episode. But before we dive into that, obviously, quick housekeeping things. First and foremost, please subscribe, do all of the things. It helps this podcast grow, and I'm so appreciative of you guys being the community that's bringing it to more people. Some of you guys sent me DMs, screenshots of you posting the podcast link in Facebook groups or Reddit pages. And to tell you that that makes my day is an understatement. I am like on a high when you guys do that. It makes me feel so good that this community is just going to keep on growing and growing and growing. And I don't know about y'all, but I think this couch has room for more people to just hang out on, because it certainly feels like we're a group of best friends just sitting on the couch hanging out. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for doing all of that. Next ask of the week is my question that I always pose. So since I'm going to be talking about fearing the flare, I would love for you guys to put in the comment section, what's one thing that you have recently decided to do or not to do because you were fearing a potential flare-up from it? And I'm not saying like you have symptoms that were barring you from doing it. It just simply was the fear of flaring. And I'll dive into what my most recent one was, obviously, later on in this episode. But anyway, during this last month in February, when I was in my Indulge Duvet Day Alex heyday, I had a couple things that gave me a lot of comfort and helped me really enjoy my duvet time. One was skincare. You guys know I am obsessed with skincare. I love it. I'm about all things clean skincare. I've got hypersensitive skin, so you know I'm doing the legwork to make sure whatever I tell you guys I like is actually good and is sensitive skin approved. I went through most of my life, literally up until age 30, never doing like any kind of chemical acids on my face because I was terrified sensitive skin that would just fuck me up. But the Dr. Dennis Gross, their sensitive skin wipes, they are amazing. They actually are gentle. They remove the gunk and the sludge and the buildup. And when I was going through all of those treatments, obviously I was not eating my best. I was eating all the goldfish at the infusion center. I think I cleared them out of goldfish. So I was breaking my diet left and right, gluten, dairy. And then all of those pre-meds, the antihistamines like Benadryl and Pepcid, and then the anti-nausea meds like Zofran, all that constipates you. And whatever is going on with your gut, that just shows on your skin. Unhappy gut, unhappy skin. So my skin wasn't super happy. It just felt bleh during that month. And I used those wipes on Saturday, and I woke up Sunday and I was like, okay, baby, we're back. My skin is happy again. So big tip, if you are nervous, speaking of fearing flaring, if you are fearing skin sensitivity, I think this one is safe for you and it's at least worth trying. Link in the description below to these exact wipes that I'm talking about, and I will try to get a discount code for you guys, of course. Second pick of the week is Thrive's Eyebrows. You guys might have seen my really dumb TikTok or story this Monday? I don't know what day it was. This last week after the award show, when I was reviewing how nude brows are still in vogue. I feel like I can speak on this because I have obviously white blonde hair, and I had most pictures of my entire life of me looking like this, like I had no eyebrows. I'm gonna be honest, it was not the best look on me. And when I see some of these actresses doing that look, I wish I could be there for them and do the big sister moment of, hey, hard truth, but that one's not for you. Anyway, I got some shit on it on my TikTok for being judgmental, but I didn't mean to be judgmental. I meant to be big sisterly because I wish someone had introduced me to brow gel or brow liner or anything like that at any point in my life. Now, obviously, I do that. I tint my own brows every 2 weeks, and then I color them in or shape them every single morning because eyebrows frame your face. Currently, my brow makeup of choice is Thrive's. It's awesome. It's easy to use. You really can't fuck it up. And that's coming from someone who does not know how to do makeup and fucks most makeup things up. So user-friendly, link in description below. I have a discount code for you guys. We love Thrive. Clean makeup. It's amazing. And if you're fearing using brow stuff, it's user-friendly. So I think you should be in the clear. Okay, at the top of the episode, I was telling you guys how I am cautiously optimistic right now. I'm starting to feel a little bit better. I'm trying to not say it too loudly because if I do, I am fearful my flare-up will hear me and rear its gnarly head, which it kind of did a little bit today because I was so eagerly excited yesterday and shouting it from the rooftops like Icarus that I was healed and completely better from all of my treatments. Piss poor decision. You would think after 25 years of being sick, I would know better, but here we are. Will she learn? No, I do not think so. But I don't think it's a bad thing to be cautiously optimistic. I think what that allows us to do is slowly and safely push out of the box that we put our lives in when we are in a flare-up and feeling shitty. Part of that is, in my opinion, a control thing. We have no control over our body and the schedule of how it flares up, what we can and can't do then. So it's super easy to just say, okay, here are my boundaries. Here's the little box I'm going to let myself live in because it makes life more predictable. Maybe I know my spoon count a little bit easier. Maybe it lets me communicate to others who might not totally understand what a flare-up looks like, what I can and can't do during this time period in my life. Whatever the reason, it's first and foremost okay to do that. I do that when I'm in a flare-up and in the thick of it. But two, I think it's obviously it's a control thing. I think it's also a protective measure. We know if we, quote unquote, follow these rules that we make for ourselves, maybe we can stay at this like baseline of feeling shitty and not get worse. Fair, absolutely fair. But when you're exiting that time period and you're on medications or you're doing these lifestyle changes that are starting to show signs of working, and maybe that looks like you wake up with a little bit more energy in the morning and you feel a little bit rested. I know, shocking, but when you wake up and you feel a little bit rested, you do go, oh my God, is this what normal people feel like? It's phenomenal. This is a tangent. Last night I had awful painsomnia up until 3 a.m., tossed and turned for a while, literally lathered my body from head to toe in CBD Living's Freeze roller cream, pain cream. I'm surprised that didn't wake up Cooper because our bedroom the smell of menthol, so strong. But he was just, sleeping right next to me, mouth slightly ajar, snoring, looking blissful. Ugh, so annoying. When Cooper does snore, so I was, tossing and turning, using my sleep crown, covering my face, doing every which way. Eventually at 2 a.m, I was like, fuck this, what am I doing? And I took pain medication. My rule of thumb is if you're up for over 30 minutes at night because of pain, and the pain salves are not working, just take the pain medication. You need sleep more than you don't want to take pain medication. Anywho, took my pain meds, still could not sleep. Cooper's over there snoring, and usually when he snores, I just reach over and put my hand on his chest and kind of tap it, and he stops snoring. It's amazing. But I wasn't looking, and I reached over with my hand, and I just dropped my hand into his mouth, and he was like, and then I rolled over and pretended like I had accidentally spazzed in my sleep and hit him in the face. Thought I got away with it. And then this morning we were chatting and he said, did you put your hand in my mouth while I was sleeping last night? And I said, yes, I did on accident. I'm sorry. And then we had a good laugh about it. In my New Year's episode, I talked about how small wins build and have momentum. So when you have been going through the treatments like I did in February, and you are starting to feel a little bit better, there can be a lot of fear around, should I risk having symptoms again or risk having a flare-up again just to do one activity? For example, is it worth going on a 45-minute walk right now if that means I'm going to be laid up in bed all day tomorrow? I think most of us, more often than not, are going to say no. But I also think that comes from this thinking that gets so obviously ingrained in our bodies because we're in fight or flight and protection mode to not escape the box. Live within those parameters because they're safe, they're more predictable, and our body will be happier. And that is reasonable. I think I lived most of 2024 like that. I was really, really scared if I pushed that at all, I was going to be fucked and I was going to be in the hospital. And I did. I mean, we know I had some hospitalizations last year, so I did push the envelope and I saw what it did to me. So obviously last month I had to have more duvet days. It was a very aggressive medical month with all of the treatments and surgery recovery and just feeling candidly pretty shitty. But I woke up on Sunday and I did start to feel like an inkling better. And by Monday, that had gotten some momentum, I guess. I woke up at 7:30, only snoozed once. I drank bone broth before my coffee, which has always been a goal, to have something other than coffee as the first thing in my stomach. And I finally got it on Monday. Cooper and I even went on a walk before we started our workday. Bizarre behavior, for sure. Definitely like healthy girl Alex behavior, not in a flare-up Alex girl behavior. Perhaps a little bit too soon. You know, it was only March 3. So like, and candidly, maybe that was a little bit too soon. It was only 3 days after the end of February, and February was a lion. But I wanted to charge forward, and I wanted to not go into March with the fear that if I did anything, I would have a slip back. Because after I have all of these treatments and all of these things done, I feel like I have the opportunity, if I am feeling a little bit better, to lean in. So I'm cautiously optimistic right now. I have some symptoms that are definitely starting to feel better. I think energy is one of them. And I'm excited to see how the rest of the symptoms play out. I'm seeing the rest of the week as me testing the water and dipping my toe into the pond of what does my new normal look like with these medications potentially working and symptoms getting a little bit alleviated and feeling a little bit better and more like myself. So I grew up sick. That's been my whole existence. And because of that, the way I view getting back on the horse is different than if I had gotten diagnosed later in life, I think. What I mean by that is when I was little and I would flare up, I had my whole family there. They would put me back on the horse after a hard go. They would pick me up and keep me going because I was a little kid, and that's what you do. You take care of your kids and make sure they keep going. And I think that mentality got ingrained into my brain, for better or for worse. Better because I feel like I don't really fear failing. I don't really fear flaring. I just know that it's an inevitable. It's going to happen time and time again, whether I want to or not, periodically throughout my life until, God willing, there is a cure that comes about. That is the chronic illness life. That is dealing with autoimmune diseases. You're going to have periods of peaks and periods of valleys. With that mindset, it allows me to always kind of keep powering through and keep trucking through. The downside of that is I burn myself a lot. Cooper and I have an inside joke that I'm Icarus. I will get really quite a big head about everything that I think I can do in a day or think that I should be able to do without regard of the fact that I have chronic illness and chronic pain and these very real limitations. On my good symptom days, I live as if I don't have a chronic illness sometimes. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, candidly. But what I do know is it has really helped me always know that there are different phases of Alex. There are Alex that has to live in this little box and keep her world somewhat small because that's safe. And that means flares are more predictable. And that means the flare is and that means I can navigate the flare a little bit better. The symptoms are more predictable and life is more manageable. What it also means is when I start to see signs of improvement from that, I can push the envelope, I can push the boundary, and I can start to navigate my new normal and then build on that as I continue to feel better. When I'm in my flare-up, let's talk about the guardrails that I put up. I limit my social interactions. I go from trying to socialize once a week to socializing maybe once every other week, or maybe even just once a month, or just doing FaceTime hangouts with people, and the only people I see in person is Cooper and my family. I'm okay with that. I am very much a homebody, and so that's comfortable for me and doesn't bother me. And because I've been sick for so long, and because of 2020, candidly, FaceTimes are a hangout to me. That is socializing. It checks the box. It fills my cup. It fills my heart. So I can make those changes easily. I'm not great about putting guardrails around my work. Thank God I have a team. Otherwise, entrepreneurship would be very difficult. I usually work from bed when I'm in this category. I try to limit networking calls. I let my clients know that I'll be leaning on my team members a little bit more. So we do group chats instead of single one-off chats. For podcasting, this is a good lesson that I've learned, is I am going to have evergreen episodes that I record and save that I can use during those weeks, because recording during IVIG week last week was fucking painful for me and my editor and my production team. It took me 2 hours to record the 40-minute episode that you guys listened to on Monday. Lots of starts and stops, lots of brain fog, and it was just kind of chaos, candidly. And then we put guardrails around what is fun, because you still have to have fun even when you're in the flare-up bucket. And so that means Cooper and I are indulging in all the one brain cell TV and movies possible. We're happy having kind of our quieter time. And then the last guardrail is how I spend my time. That usually means that Cooper and I are indulging in reading, being in nature, watching our one brain cell TV shows and movies, and not feeling guilty about it at all. Duvet days are king during those time periods, and I have found ways to make that column and having to live in my little box still really enjoyable and happy. And I think I'm able to do that because it's the lens of how I'm looking at that time period in my life. Like I said earlier, chronic illness has peaks and valleys. I know during those time periods, I'm in a valley, that this will end eventually, or it will get better eventually. And most importantly, for all of that, is I view those time periods as, you've heard me say it, indulge the rest. Because when I'm in bucket 2, the testing period, or bucket 3, my new norm period, I might not have time to have week-long duvet days and watch all of my TV shows and always be caught up. So if I can look forward to doing that and view this as I'm indulging in my duvet days, it makes the flare-up box a little bit easier and enjoyable. And then when I'm starting to feel better and the treatments are starting to work a little bit better and it's time to move those guardrails out a little bit, that's that phase 2, that testing phase. And I am most certainly sitting in that right now. And that is when this is like the roller. In this phase is where you have the roller coaster. There's going to be some high highs. There's going to be some low lows. You're going to have days where you feel shitty, and you're going to have days where you feel like you're paying the price just for trying to live a normal life. You can be super angry about that, and you should. On those days where you pay the price, be pissed. Get it out of your system. And then it's all about the lens thing again. I like to challenge myself to say, okay, I now know where a new limit is. I now know that, a month ago, my guardrail was I couldn't work anywhere besides my bed. And now my guardrail is I'm back to working in my podcast studio. I might have a day like today where I woke up at 9, felt pretty shitty, had to have a slow start. I still got out of my bed, and now I'm in my podcast studio. That is a small win. So whereas bucket 1, the safety of the box is really hard physically and emotionally, of course, this bucket 2, this testing phase, is really hard mentally. This is where my high school soccer coach had the saying that resonates for this time period for me, and it's dig deep. This is the mental gymnastics of pushing yourself out of your safety zone, out of this box of predictability and comfort. If you do not do that, you will never know if your box that you're living in has to look like that. Maybe it's the venture capitalist in me that's okay with higher risk. Maybe it's the fact that I grew up sick and I had a family that did not let me fall off the horse and stay off the horse. They just kept putting me back on. And so it's kind of ingrained in me. I don't know what it is, but it has most certainly helped me continue to time and time again do treatments, get back up, have surgery, punch back up. And I was trying to distill really like what that was. And like I said, that is for better or for worse. Like, it's great because I can get back on the horse and I know that. Not great because I've said, Cooper and I call this my Icarus time period. I burned myself a lot. But I was trying to distill into like what would be motivating for me to know right now. And I think it's, yes, there is a possibility that if you expand what you're doing, if you expand the box that you're living in, you could flare up. This community will pick you up. This community will be here for you, will give you the tips, the toolbox, whatever you need, physically, whatever you need, emotionally, spiritually, maybe even physically. We will not let you fail. We might not, unfortunately, we might not be able to help you not flare, but we're not going to let you fail and never get back up. I think that's the beauty of this Calling in Sick community. This is not a place where this is not a group of people that are going to bitch and moan and accept disaster as disaster, at least that I've seen. Every single person that I've interacted with in this community is someone who has, even if it's small at times, a little bit of hope that things can improve. And so if you are sitting in this phase right now, like me, where you're starting to question, am I feeling better? Knock on wood. Should I say it quietly but not loud enough that my flare-up could possibly hear it? I need to be on my tippy toes. What's going to happen? Instead of leaning into that anxiety, lead into the excitement of it, because anxiety and excitement are close cousins chemically in our brain. And if we lean into the excitement of it, then it's a lens of, even if I do flare up and I have to pay the price of something, it's going to be okay, because there is a outcome that I'm going to get out of it that is still good. And that's learning where the new line is. And then eventually what that allows you to do is to get into that bucket 3, which is settling into your new norm. And you know where those lines are, and you feel like your world got a little bit bigger. But you're only going to get there if you can break through that fear of flaring that is in that middle zone, that gray zone of not totally fucking destroyed by my health and in the worst flare-up of my life, but also not totally perfect and engaged in my new normal life and routines. So if you're not in our group chat on Instagram already, I want to encourage you to come join us, because this week I'm going to have all of us put one thing that maybe previously we've had some fear around, that it could cause us to flare, that we'll have to pay the price, but that we're willing to try this week. And I think if we can all hold each other accountable and then all catch each other if we fall a little bit, it'll be less scary. So that's my challenge for us for this week. I'm excited. I'm going to noodle on what mine's going to be. And I'm excited to hear what y'all's is going to be. But regardless, if you're in that phase 1 bucket of just gritting through it, or if you are in this navigation period like me, or even if you're on your new norm and you just want to treat yourself to a duvet day, I have a new segment to introduce to you guys, and I'm so excited about this. It's called the One Brain Cell segment. And in this segment, I'm going to talk about the one thing, one activity, one TV show, one movie, one book, whatever it might be, that is bringing me comfort and that I can do with the one brain cell I have left in my head. So, for this very inaugural One Brain Cell segment, I watched all 10 episodes of Running Point on Saturday last weekend. It's on Netflix. It's the new Kate Hudson TV show, and it is phenomenal. Storyline is kind of like early 2000 rom-coms that were Matt McConaughey and Kate Hudson had a baby with Ballers on HBO. So if you liked those kind of shows, those kind of movies, this series is going to be a comfort show to you. And that's what it was for me. Cooper and I were watching it. The storyline's not complicated. It's not like Succession or Game of Thrones where you have to be locked in, and if you blink, you got to rewind, and good Lord, you better have the subtitles on. Otherwise, it could be in a different language for all we know. This one is happy. If you blink, you're good. You can run to the bathroom even, and you're still going to be good when you come back. But the one thing that I liked about this series the most is the family dynamic in it. Now, you guys know I am super close with my family. Maybe like obsessively close to a weird and creepy way. So between my siblings and I, our spouses have deemed themselves the outsiders, which is like kind of sad, but also kind of funny. And they call my family the Kane cult because we are that level of obsessed with each other. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, candidly. I feel that way about a lot of things in my life. Unsure if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but we're rolling with it. Anyway, the sibling dynamic was so fucking funny. It reminded me a little bit of like how close my siblings and I are. Now, none of us are as chaotic, I would say, as those siblings in this TV show, but maybe we are. We are all like 0 or 100 individuals, constantly pushing each other to go forward, each other's buttons, pulling pranks, and helping each other grow, and then being there for each other during the hard parts. And I don't mean just, oh, we're there for each other. We are sitting in the fucking dirt together when shit gets bad. And so watching this show just made me so homesick for my siblings. Hilarious because one of them lives 15 minutes away from me, but she has the flu right now, and I've got no immune system because I just finished Rituxan, so we ain't seeing each other. But my brother lives in London, and I miss him so much. Hoping that my health continues in this trajectory, because if it does, I'm going to go visit him this summer for the very first time, even though he's been living in Europe for like 4 years now. Would really like to go see my brother and his wife and see what their world looks like and their life looks like. It'd be really fun. And I've never been to London before, so we'll see. Buying refundable tickets, obviously, because learned that lesson painfully, more than I'd like to admit, candidly. More than I'd like to admit. So Running Point, you can find it on Netflix. There's 10 episodes. I think the episodes are like 30 to 40 minutes each, so you can watch the whole thing in a day like Cooper and I did. I also will say the show is called, the emphasis is put on the point, apparently, Running Point, because it's a show sort of about basketball. And when I was telling my parents that they should watch it this weekend, I kept calling it Running Point. And my dad and Cooper kept laughing so hard, and my mom and I were very confused why they were laughing at the name of the show. Obviously, big sports girl over here. Point has to do with point guard. You're running point for the basketball game. I almost just said basketball show. Yikes. Running Point. You guys are all going to like this because there is a little something for everyone. Whether you like the rom-coms or you like the dirty humor or you like the sports dynamics, it is there for you. And it's going to give you nostalgia of early 2000s, early 90s when, Lord, the world felt so much simpler and calmer. And obviously, like the end of every episode, I have one brain cell left after recording. So I'm going to wrap it up, but I love you guys in whatever phase you're in, whether that be the fuckery of the flare-up bucket, the gray in between, or if you are in your new norm. I want to say we are going to face these fears of flaring together so that we can keep pushing the envelope and making our world as big and beautiful as we want it to be in the way that it works for us. So, to holding each other accountable, to pushing the envelope. Love you guys, and thanks for calling in sick. Happy Monday. And that's a wrap. Thank you so much for joining me for another week of Calling in Sick. As a reminder, I would love for y'all to like, follow, subscribe, save, share with a friend, do all of the things. It truly helps grow this community, and it helps these episodes reach the people that need them the most, whether that's for an educational piece, to have a little laugh, or to not feel so alone. As a reminder, Calling in Sick sits on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify, and anywhere else where you can find your listens. From the bottom of my heart, I absolutely love you guys. Thank you so much for calling in sick with me every Monday. It's been an honor and a pleasure so far, and I can't wait to continue building this community with y'all. Love you.